All set.
All right, great. Good morning and thanks for everyone coming. This is the December end of year meeting for the Municipal Alliance for Adaptive Management. And before we get going, we can go ahead and do introductions because we're a pretty small group here today. So Chris, would you like to get started?
Sure, Chris Jacobs, Town of Milton.
And for Laura's benefit, will you just state if you're a voting member and Chris's?
Hey,
Right.
Paul Toussaint, Town of Rollinsford.
All right, Gretchen Young, City of Dover, and I'm a voting member and Paul is a voting member as well.
Jill Semprini, City of Dover.
Mel Cote, EPA, non-voting.
Sally Soul, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, not voting.
Jamie Hull, University of New Hampshire, non-voting.
Jennifer Perry, Town of Exeter, voting.
Katie Ambrose, City of Rochester, voting member.
Yes.
Suzanne Woodland, Deputy City Manager, Portsmouth, voting.
Thanks.
Eric Beck, US EPA, non-voting. I live in Northmouth.
All right, Colin, I'm going to throw it to you.
Kalamazoo, Piscataqua Region Estuaries Partnership, non-voting.
And Jamie.
Jamie McCarty, City of Portsmouth, GIS and Stormwater Manager, not a voting member.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Jim Steinkraus, Rothian Pignatelli, not a voting member.
Great. And Ronnie Ann.
Ronnie Ann Rakoski, City of Portsmouth, Business Administrator, non-voting member.
And Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer Perez, City of Dover, not a voting member.
And Tom.
Hey everybody, Tom Swenson, DES, non-voting member.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, lady.
Oh, yes, please. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Dennis.
Dennis Messier, Town of Newington, voting member.
Great. And Ariel Wright, Town of Newington. All right, great, Ariel. Nice to meet you.
And then we just had Brian Early join in, so.
Hi, Brian Early. You can introduce yourself if you'd like. You don't have to. All right, Brian Early is from City of Dover. He's with our media services, so we are trying to update some of our web information. And so before we get started, I do want to mention that I know Jennifer Perry's last meeting is today. She says she's flying out within a week south. And Dennis, this is your last meeting as well.
Right.
So thank you both, obviously, done a ton for this group. And Ariel, I guess you're going to be taking over. So that's excellent.
If that's
Thank you.
appropriate.
That's absolutely appropriate. Yeah, that's great.
You're retiring, is that right?
Thanks.
Are you retiring?
Pardon?
Are you retiring?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Long and happy retirement. And
Thank
thanks all for all your work, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
We will have a representative at the next meeting.
Good.
I'm working on who that is.
good. Cool. Drawing for straws.
Yeah.
Well, this is a big meeting, so this is good. We'll set the budget for next year. So first, let's do approval of minutes. We're just going to be doing the last members meeting minutes, September 15th, 2022.
Approve the minutes of September 15th, 2022.
Thank you, Suzanne, second.
Second.
I'm going to give it to Dennis. Dennis, that's it. Second by Dennis. All right, great. And we are all here, so we'll do all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Okay.
Did not.
Okay. All right, so Milton abstention and then the rest approved. Okay, so now we're going to start in on the item number 3, review of the 2023 budget recommendations. I'll do a quick synopsis. We reviewed them with the executive committee, which hopefully everyone was able to participate or catch up on. We were able to, I think, make a recommendation of a total cost of $566,700. And that was pretty much all of the, so that included the website, Brown and Caldwell work, PTAP work, and the group 1, 2, and 3 of the priorities outlined in the prep work for this year. There were a few items that were in the original list that were removed because of some additional funding. So that was the number that we got to. Then we learned, and you can feel free to add more if you'd like, but that Exeter did not have some expenses that were encumbered. Yeah.
Right,
Sure.
we had budgeted to contribute to either this effort or to prep. And we didn't make that payment, so I want to make this payment actually today when I get back to the office. I have background information, but I'm almost wondering if I could get an invoice or something from Katie, from you, as just kind of reinforcing that. I'll put some of the background in it as to what it's paying for, but it's a little hard when I don't have a specific invoice to pay to.
Yep.
Cool. Yep.
So I sent this out and I'm open to suggestions, but my feeling would be the two options would either be to bank that money in our sort of pot of additional funds, or to apply that to the total that we came up with this year, and that would reduce the costs for each contributing member. So it would bring the cost from $566,700 down to $519,684, and just kind of redistribute that through. So looking for some suggestions or ideas on that.
So it's clear for me, so in your budget sheet where you have the 2023 proposed and then 2023 less previous appropriation.
Yeah,
It looks like you sort of proportionately applied the 47 plus
Exactly.
to each of the rows.
yeah, I just took, yeah, exactly. I took the total, I made it a new total and then applied it using the same percentages.
I would also add that out of the 2022 budget, I believe the only item outstanding for invoice would be website work to date. So factoring that out, we currently have $65,615 available in 2022.
And that was from like the initial pot that the 3 communities put in, and then we spent some of it down, but we didn't spend all of it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, great.
So we already have some contingency in the pot, so to speak, if we did want to apply the 47,000 to this year's allocation.
So I would move to apply that 47,000 as outlined in the spreadsheet. It says 2023 less previous appropriation for that total of 519,684.
Great. Suzanne, any second?
A second.
Great, Katie. All right, any more discussion?
Would it be helpful for the record if we just kind of reviewed the contributions for each community under that 519?
Yeah. Okay, so again, this is, and actually Jennifer pointed this out to me, I shared it in the email, but the spreadsheet that I had passed out originally did say it was divided based on the nitrogen load. It was actually always divided based on the flow, but the column was mislabeled. So the percentages break down the way that you see them here on this on the spreadsheet. So I'm going to read through each one. So out of the 519,684, Rochester is 24.42% at 126,893.71. Portsmouth, this is their main plant, is at 29.76%, and that ends up being 154,643.83. Dover is 22.82%. That ends up being 118,568.68. Exeter is at 14.56%, and it's 75,682.14. Pease, which is also falls under Portsmouth, is at 5.83%, and that's a 30,272.85 amount. Newington is 1.41%. That is 315.94. Rollinsford is 0.73% at 3,000. It's an important 0.73.
Yeah,
Got
make the
it.
difference.
It is, it is. 3,784.11. And Milton comes in at 0.49%, 2,522.74. All right. Excellent work, guys. Yep, so any other discussion? All right, all the.
Gretchen,
yes,
I just wanted to ask if there has been any recent discussion with any of the other communities expressing interest in joining, or if there's any pending communities.
No, I haven't heard anything from anyone recently. Any good movement. I did send out, when I sent out what the percentages were, and to all, and I hope folks see that I think that this is it shows, Newington was, Paul was chuckling, but it's not a huge lift, and Newington, or excuse me, Rollinsford is part of this whole process. So I really think there's a lot of benefit to being part of it. So
Richard, can I just ask a quick question, like procedurally, if we brought more people in, would those percentages basically come down?
Yeah.
So the effective cost per
yeah, it
local
does.
unit would come down.
It does. The materials that I said, I didn't print everything out, but it did also have if everyone was participating, what the costs would be. And it's not, we have the bulk here. So the drop, I think it was, I don't remember, but maybe $20,000 or $30,000 off of Dover's 118, which is not insignificant, but it just would be, it's the benefit is that Kala can come to one place, you can come to one place, that there's this kind of momentum and collaboration as we keep talking about. So yes, the cost would go down. Maybe there would be some changes because I think, Newmarket is contributing directly to PrEP, or maybe Somersworth is contributing directly. So maybe some of those numbers would change a little bit, but
Seems the barriers to additional communities participating are just logistical for whatever reason.
I think there's still the stigma that is hard to get
But
past.
That's a perception. That's
That's
not
perception.
real.
Yep. And I think as the 5 years move along, I don't know. It's hard to guess.
Well,
Yeah.
on the Somersworth perspective, seeing on the city council.
Yeah.
They feel they were paying in to PrEP, so.
Right.
It. Instead of moving it, they were just gonna stay there.
I guess I was just trying to figure out, is this something that like PrEP or, UNH could help with in advertising the benefits of the programs that we're running for the Guinea, the
Yes.
true benefit of everybody.
Yes. And like anything, I could spend more time diving into that too, but
Well, related to that, you had drafted a letter back early in the summer. Are there still thoughts about sending that?
yes, there are. I think we all talked about this. The letter didn't quite capture the benefits. I think with the approval of this, we're going to have a better outline of the benefits. Katie's finishing drafting a press release on the congressional spending that is going. I've got Brian Early here today, who's hopefully going to take some notes and help me put together additional wording on some of the work that we're doing, and then revamp that and send that letter out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
About the stigma, I'm not quite sure later, so is it like stigma in terms of like working with EPA? or is-
No. Do you want me to, I mean, I can answer.
I'm cognizant that we have a pending motion.
Okay, sorry.
And just maybe we want to close that loop before.
Sorry
we
about that.
end.
All right, let's do a vote. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
It's Chris, so can you call me back later?
Is that a yay?
Yes.
No, I mean.
Sorry.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
My friend? All right, great. We can, I'll. Okay, great. Any more, we feel we're good with that? Then moving on to discussion of the website development. Suzanne, did you want
Yeah,
to?
sure. So sub-working group had an initial meeting with the website developers to look over the general framework. We provided some feedback based on really what we thought the organization here would need and how to make the information more accessible, kind of talked a little bit about how we'd like to build out a dashboard to kind of, and the links with what PTAP is already doing. I think we gave some good feedback, and tomorrow we have another meeting to kind of look at the next evolution. So I'm hopeful by the time we meet again, we'll have be pretty close to final and getting something that will be easy for everyone to access, and we'll be reaching out to the community, seeing how you want to link into to the standalone website. So I don't know if Jamie, you want to add any more, of Gretchen, but I think we're finally moving.
No, I don't really have anything else to add to that.
The one question I had for, I had hoped that Melissa Paley would be here. She wasn't, but I'm not sure what presence the stakeholder committee wants to have on our website. And so I would open it up to the members to see if you guys have any opinions on that or feelings. Nope. Yeah, okay. So we'll work with her and see how she'd like that handled. All right.
Gretchen, I did want to, I'm not sure who to send it to, but I did see that Exeter didn't have a brief description to
Yes.
try and get up.
Thank you.
Who should I've been working on it. Who should I send that to?
How about
Any of us.
Gretchen, me, and Jamie.
Okay,
We'll make sure
Thank
it
you.
gets to that.
Yes, actually, Jennifer, thank you for bringing that up. I also did pass out those blurbs that we put at the beginning of the adaptive management plan. I sent it via email. I did not bring them today. And if folks just want to double check what they have, and if you want to make any modifications to those, please do so and get them to myself or Suzanne or Jamie McCarty, and we can get that included. All right, Great Bay, moving on to item number 5 is the Great Bay 2030 funding opportunity. So this was, I've mentioned this a couple times, it's really this I've never seen anything like it. Funding with through an anonymous donor. There is a board or a group that is overseeing the funds, and they've broken it into different working groups, and there is do we have it on here? What are we, the water quality working group? And so we sort of brainstormed another number of projects in the region that could really make some difference with water quality improvements. And the street sweeper project that we worked on, the Seafring project that we put together in the spring, really rose to the top because of its collaboration, because of its kind of regional work, and because street sweeping really does have some potential benefits. I think even at that discussion that we had back in the spring, it was acknowledged that there were pieces that were not fully understood, how it would work, who would be housing this, who would own the street sweeper, how insurance is going to work, how all of those pieces. So we put the Great Bay 2030 working group decided to apply for some funds to really brainstorm what are we calling it, like a feasibility study of doing this regional approach. And it's gotten a lot of great feedback and support. And it's because of our collaboration, because of this wanting to support the work that MAM's doing, that the communities are doing, working with UNH, really understanding the nitrogen reductions that we're able to get out of this type of approach. So it's gotten a lot of positive feedback. We have put together the draft application that I distributed and then also printed and passed out here today. And I'm hoping to get a vote of support to continue to work through securing some of those funds. The lift for the MAM communities would be minimal, but also as much as you'd like. So there will be a technical committee that's put together to kind of oversee this. And I'm hoping that we'll get support from all of the communities to really understand what your needs are, how it could work into your fleet or your process. But there's no requirement to do that. So it's not a huge time commitment, no added cost, no fiscal contribution. But just sort of a support for this application. Open up to questions, and we've got Sally Sewell and Jamie Houle here who have both worked on this as well.
Does this only have to do with street sweeping equipment and maintenance, or is it?
So what do we do? So it's not fully understood, but the idea at this point would be to purchase a regional street sweeper that can go, and it not just in the regulated communities, perhaps in the non-regulated communities. And once we get into a point that we're really taking credits and bartering credits for nitrogen reduction, you know, we may be able to sweep areas that aren't in these regulated communities, but still get credit for it. You know, so there's a lot of potential benefit, but right now the idea would be to purchase one unit. It would be a high efficiency unit, my guess, and then I do believe there's a lot of interest in doing an electric unit, and then figure out how it could be just moved around the region. But so this, understanding that there's still a lot of questions, this is really just focusing on doing a feasibility analysis of how that works. And because we know that there are questions and we believe that there are answers, but you know, we're working through that.
The question, so like, when I was looking, there wasn't a lot of detail on what kind of sweeper you're looking for. So I think high efficiency was maybe mentioned there is a, and I've heard regenerative sweepers. If Mark Foy used to hear me talking about regenerative vacuum sweepers. So I'm guessing that's what we're talking about, but just I'm curious.
Yeah, well, again, the feasibility study will hash some of the stuff out, but the idea is to not do a straight mechanical sweeper. And I'm coming to it from my experience in Dover, and I would really like these regenerative sweepers. And we've gotten some hangups because of, you know, they're not great at large wet leaf piles or whatever. So these are the types of things that I would bring to this technical group and say, well, this is what we're working through. You know, perhaps this is in Dover following after a traditional sweeping program. But we would have to see what the needs are in other communities. And but the idea is not to do more of the same. It would be to do something, an improvement.
Yeah, well, I know, I also mentioned that one thing I know from I get from Mark Foy, that's anything else
Yeah.
is that besides nitrogen, it'll get you a lot of phosphorus.
A lot of
reductions
phosphorus
too. So,
reductions,
you know, any
yeah.
interim stops, the water going to the watershed and ponds or whatnot will help the phosphorus issues there.
So the goal of this is to supplement existing street sweeping programs?
Well, yes, it is. It won't be, it can't be your MS4 compliance,
Right.
but it would supplement what you're doing. It would also go outside of regulated communities. And the idea is that you would start to be able to get these added credits for. It also dovetails really well with a lot of the work that we're doing, which is, again, we're not taking set credits. You don't have credits that you have to get just yet. But the understood credits for street sweeping, we believe, are much lower than what they really could be. And so UNH and DES are working together to really understand what the street sweeping reductions can be. And then, you know, even more so what a leaf sweeping, you know, fall leaf pickup, sweeping, what kind of loads are being reduced, organic loads are being reduced for that. We're also learning a lot of the secondary benefits. We're doing a study right now, learning a lot of secondary benefits. So, you know, that would tie into some of the work that we're doing, like the phosphorus, but also like, you know, it's going to improve drainage maintenance, and then it's going to help snow removal efforts because you're not having leaf piles, and there's a lot of secondary stuff. So hopefully kind of putting that together and determining where.
So I move to support the
Thank you.
feasibility study.
Sorry, I get rambling. I apologize.
These are good questions.
Yeah, thank you. So
Second.
Suzanne, Katie second. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Great. We do not have a representative from the stakeholder committee, but I would welcome if there are anyone that wants to comment, stakeholder comment. All right, hearing none, public comment. Right, Steve, yes,
Can I just add that? the
Are you a
sweeping
public?
program- Well, I don't know. That's where I would, sweeping program is also supported by PrEP. So the clean sweep that led to the, I would call them
Absolutely.
experimental measured credits that also Mel had, an EPA Region 1 has written a letter of support for. That was funded by PrEP, so.
Yep.
Don't want to exclude them.
you are absolutely right. Yep, that's absolutely true. Yeah, it's really cool. It's all coming together with this credit for going green that's moving into implementation and continued study. All right, sorry, did we finish the vote? All those in favor? We're good. Okay, and then, all right.
If
sorry.
this were, I guess it's an opportunity to ask any questions or.
Yes.
Sort of going back to the budget, and that was the question of whether if there were. We have 7 right now contributing to that overall budget. If you're able to increase the number of the municipalities. It would reduce the individual per municipality cost,
Mhm.
but would it in any way increase the total budget just by,
Yeah,
I mean, it's still the same monitoring program, it's still the same PTAP support, so I don't see how those costs would go up, but are there any other ways that the total cost would go up by more of the municipalities
Yes.
contributing?
yes. So right now, Summersworth is putting like 30,000, I don't know what it is, but into directly to PrEP. Presumably, if they came to work with us, they would no longer be funding what they are funding in PrEP. That would come, so that's an ask that COLA has not come to us with because they've got this additional funding. But if Summersworth were part of here, they come to us with that ask. Newmarket, I don't claim to know exactly what they're doing, but I know that they are doing something. So if they became part of the municipal lines, that work, I think they're buying data sons and things like that, but that would be an ask of this group. And then I know that Durham is also doing separate work. So, again, so it's not a complete apples to apples. It can't be.
Yeah, I would expect too that the consultant support, which is now based on 7 of the 12
Correct.
municipalities, potentially would go up because it would be servicing more. of the
I don't think
municipalities.
so.
No?
So the consultant support, so a consultant can, we have Brown and Caldwell right now that is working on behalf of the municipal lines. I guess it could go up to a little bit if they were representing more people, but I don't think so. The way right now, there's multiple consultants. I don't think it's a little bit of duplicating efforts, like with creating the adaptive management plan. I can't speak to what those communities are paying consultants for, but that work would not be we wouldn't add that to municipal work. So one of the pitches is that it would be more cost benefit. That's a huge piece, is the consultant piece. If you're paying one consultant to do all of this, or we're doing a lot of the writing of the app in-house and things like that, those are costs that those individual communities don't have to bear. But I understand they have a long relationship with the consultants, and for whatever reason, they want to continue to do that. So that would, if they wanted to continue to do that, that would remain an individual cost. Obviously, we could talk about it and change it too, but I don't anticipate that be.
I don't think the scope would change all that much.
Right,
Well, I'll put my Summersworth City Council hat.
please.
And going into the budget season, and I suppose, they say if it's $26,000, we being Summersworth. Joined up, that cost should go down a little.
Yes,
But my question to this young man was, does it affect his entity by that money coming away? I don't want to take money from them, make their job difficult. And
you aren't, Jamie, I don't know if you're getting Jamie and PrEP confused, but what PTAP is doing is right now, MAM is entirely paying for PTAP because we recognize that is how important it is, and no one else is paying into it. Eventually, it's going to be a service.
it's like Newington, I'll put that hat on. The reason we came into the MAM group was because there was a cost benefit analysis. So I need to show that, because I'm on the Public Works and Environment Committee, that we can save some money by joining the MAM group. So that's
I would argue that a smaller community, the bang for your buck is exponential, because there's you would never be able to do
And that's how I.
that amount of money.
I would say for a lot of communities like Summersworth, it's streamlining
Right.
the program and you're reducing redundancy.
Yeah.
By kind of collaborating on a
I
single,
heard these words, streamline.
And you're at the table.
and you're at the table.
The conversations that we talked about with prioritizing turbidity and things like that were, and this is a big chunk of funding to prep that's, talking about making those are big decisions, so.
And I'm assuming Newmarket isn't in the group because they're paying for prep too, right? Or somebody,
I don't know specifically how new markets,
Okay, well,
and it doesn't.
don't worry about
Yeah.
Newington for 3 more weeks and
And that's you. Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I mean, the points that, I'm sorry.
good, I can work both parallel.
I love it.
I mean, the benefits that they're talking about are exactly the types of things you want to tie into a letter that's, advocating for their participation and actually being able to give an example of that cost benefit analysis that was done and why it's more cost effective for some of the smaller communities would be powerful. When we sent a letter, and I forget exactly, it was back in the spring, encouraged to all the municipalities, encouraging participation in all of these efforts, MAM, PTAP, PRMC. And, obviously New Hampshire DES and EPA are very interested in these communities all participating collectively in all these efforts as, a demonstration of commitment to meeting these goals. And so we'll continue, however we can support that effort as well. We'll be continuing to talk about that.
A demonstration of commitment. I like that.
Streamlining, cost reduction.
And another aspect, I mean, we're all talking about the benefits to those communities that are still kind of watching.
Mhm.
But there's also a benefit to this organization in that not just the cost sharing, but just the experience and, the local expertise that's brought to the table.
Mhm.
And I think,
Yeah.
it helps us all too, because everybody's going to have their own sweeping programs and experiences or wastewater treatment.
And another
Experience.
thing is education. If we get the new website up and there's a link from the City of Somersworth website, then people can be educated what this group does. So there's a lot of figures that can be beneficial to the City of Somersworth and other ones that aren't in the group.
So if you're looking for a part or a volunteer gig in your retirement, we can send you,
Oh, it's already offered one yesterday, so we'll have to wait and see.
but yeah,
They don't wait until you leave. They're
I'm
already
sure not.
knocking at the
Well,
door.
they're
It's
already
like,
knocking.
Doors are closed.
I'm like, well, I can't make that
No.
decision until I have the respite time.
I know. We can
That's
commiserate.
why you're getting on the plane this week. You go away.
but yes, yes.
Yeah, and I can just add it beyond the money. I think it goes back to, this is a one-stop, so to speak,
Mhm.
for the, prep for our representatives from DES, EPA, UNH to be here. And it's much more efficient in terms of communicating. And as Jennifer said, the voice is coming back so that those who are working, as partners with us have the ability to have as many voices and perspectives at the table. It also helps us get the attention of the congressionals.
Right.
And when we file applications for money, it's a lot more interesting to see an application that has the support of 7, 8, 9 communities. We collectively think this is worth your attention and your funds to support this. So I think it has benefits actually far beyond the dollars. The
Yeah.
dollars are always important. But I think there are multiple benefits. And we're all busy. And if we can use everyone's time more effectively.
Right.
And efficiently, in the nonprofit realm, this is important, and I think that's a big piece of what this collection offers. Yep.
Suzanne, just to add to that, I think that's what makes this great
It-
2030
Yeah.
proposal
It's
exciting. to the
so true.
steering committee.
So
Great.
true.
Yeah, that this
It
is
just
like,
light up when we
wow,
talk about it.
look
Yeah.
at this, these towns are working together, so, yeah, exactly.
Another perspective is, the legal side or the risk aversion side. I'm always aware that the Conservation Law Foundation is out there. And they circle like a hawk looking for, if you will, someone who's maybe not living up to what they consider the level of involvement or action. And you take a community like a Somersworth or a Durham or a Newmarket, they've got the fiscal means that Conservation Law Foundation will be looking at, in other words, in terms of getting a settlement to continue their mission. And so if you're joined with a group like this, they can't say that you've got your head buried in the sand, you're not taking any action, you're not trying to be proactive, you're not moving forward to looking for solutions. And you know, you say, well, what, you know, it didn't impact little old Milton, because you can come and bang the two nickels together and a penny might fall out. And they know that, so they're gonna leave. We're not worth diving on to continue. And I don't think I'm knocking Conservation Law Foundation, I'm just calling it as it is. I see it as it's kind of a checks and balances thing that Conservation Law Foundation is really in some respects, our conscience and keeps us held to task, if you will. Don't always agree with their means or methodology, but can't say it hasn't caught the attention of, and Dennis we've all had to deal with this, that we have counselors, we have legislators, we have all the way up through governors and senators that in some respects, they're not as focused on these issues and not as aware of them. And having somebody like Conservation Law Foundation circling like a hawk overhead keeps everybody's attention. And thus, for our community like Milton, that was my critique to my board of selectmen is, it's not that you should get involved, you can't afford not to get involved. So one, just like with Rollinsford, and it was stated earlier, we are going to gain. This is a huge investment. Well, it's a small investment for us with huge possibilities. Huge possibilities. Because no, rural Milton could never replicate 1/10 of the research or data mining or grant analysis and all that other stuff that this group can do. So that's why I see it. It was a no-brainer for us. And I would remind other communities that you have to be proactive. You have to be on the ship. You have to be. What's the adage? You have to have a seat at the table.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna be forced to get a seat at the table.
Well, maybe we'll try and put some testimony, maybe summarizing some of what you just said in like a testimony.
We have the notes.
Really good. Okay.
Words get you.
I won't.
We able to get that verbatim.
Well, you know, and it's just my style. I know I irritated a few people and I cut to the chase, if you will.
No, I mean, I think it's a fair assessment. just
Yeah, it's
be-
good.
Tack is right, you know, sometimes my wife will say to me, I can't believe you said that. Well, you have to understand the group of people that I was with, or the depth of the issue. It isn't. You know.
I think
You've seen is that my time is unbelievably precious. I'm spread, not full of people, way too thin. There's just too many things you're asking administration to do. And so this was one of those that, wow, Miss Hamlin was fantastic. It's like having her on staff,
Yeah.
having her on staff.
Yeah.
You know, that resource you got the phone, so.
The benefits received for the smaller communities are so far greater than anything we can bring to the table.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Would agree.
All right, well, with that kumbaya moment.
We need
I do-
to get Brian to work on the testimonials.
Yeah, yeah. All right, any other public comment?
I just have one
Yes.
more of an update. So Milton has finished a facilities study for the wastewater treatment plant and potential growth of the system. It's been under review for the last couple of weeks. It just got shipped up to the state for their review and, you know, comments before it'll get finalized and released. But what it says is the same thing as every other community, is that when it comes to the next round of federal permitting, there's gonna be things that communities are gonna have to meet, and we're not in a position right now to meet those things. Yeah, we have a small plant, but because we're at the, you know, we're at the headwaters of essentially not really the same,
Yes, you are.
but it is. What we don't do impacts all of you. And therefore, I just want to let you know have been actively pursuing that, and it'll be out in a couple of weeks.
I noticed a comment, Chris Jacobs has been speaking, Brian. He is off camera, you're right.
Yeah.
From Milton, there he is. So, sorry about that.
That's all right. I didn't want anyone to see my ball.
Yeah, there you go.
Get it off.
You got work here than I do.
Well, that's awesome. And that actually brings us to item number 8, other business. So that's a good update for Milton. I do have a couple of items that I'll open up to others first. Other business. So I want to share, Dover has an RFQ for our creation of the stormwater utility. I know I've said this, but back in February, we had a vote by the council to direct the city manager and staff to create an ordinance and implementation plan for stormwater utility with the intent of adopting it. So it's not fully adopted yet. We'll need to go back to council. But that was the clear intent. We were able to get some CFRING funding for that $100,000. That unfortunately slowed that process right down, but we received governor council approval the day before Thanksgiving, and my finance department was able to post the RFQ on that Friday. So thanks to them for doing that. But so that's out. I'm going to leave here and go to pre-bid meeting for that. I'm really excited, and the time frame is to get it done in the fall of this year to back in front of council. So we're going to be kind of fast tracking, but I think kind of good pacing that. And then another piece that I want to bring to the attention of everyone, this is a really low priority, but end of the year, last year, we the settlement agreement, which really is only with Dover, Rochester, and Portsmouth, but kind of includes a lot of us, had CLF and the stakeholders received $45,000, 15 from each of those communities, and it was intended to be paid for for a project of their choosing within 2021. A year ago, we had an amendment to extend that through 2022. And so I just wanted to bring this to the group again for a vote to extend that for another year to 2023. So I'm hoping that's a pretty low ask. Perfect. And Rochester. So I don't think we don't need a vote, just discussion. Okay, cool. So we'll work on updating that language. Yeah, please. You can. Yeah, I can't.
I mean,
You're a short timer. You can say whatever you
In
want.
2019, they wished some money. And you guys were gracious enough to give them 45,000. Here it is, 4 years later, and they can't come up.
You know
with
what though, Dennis? I could not have paid $45,000 to have that lesson. It's hard.
What
to
I'm saying
do
is, I
these
mean,
things.
if we make the motion, I mean, you're gonna be here every year for 30 years for them before they spend the money?
I think there'll be a time.
I said my piece, that's all.
No, I know. I think that's a fair comment. Without diving too far down the rabbit hole, I think it's been a really good experience because it is not hard for us to implement these things either. Excuse me, it's not easy for us to implement these things either within a year. So it's taking them time, which is to be expected.
Because they were here a year ago about
Yep.
septic systems and pieces of equipment.
Yep.
Well, I guess they didn't get anybody to volunteer to do it, so I support it to the extent.
And can I just, what Gretchen was saying is that CLF to learn a lesson, that implementation is difficult and it's a long road. It doesn't happen overnight, is worth it.
It's a valuable
Invaluable.
lesson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it better than myself.
Then me too. Jamie is really good at doing that, you know.
I mean,
Well,
they're gonna read the public minute, so.
Yeah.
As long as.
Yep.
There's a better way to put it.
Yep.
That's why I'm
Some
leaving.
emails I'd like to send to you, a word.
He is, no, it's true. He's very good at doing that.
It's way too many.
That is
words.
why Jamie's at the table. He's very good at that.
Yes, he's very good. In the interest, because I know we are all crazy busy and some of us even more so than others, so I would like, is any other business?
I would just like to say this is an easy one. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's been an education sitting here. And thank you.
yeah, you
And
bet.
good luck
Thank
to
you.
Everybody.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome to read
Echo
my
that.
name
Jennifer.
around.
I echo that
And-
too.
Ariel should be a
I know, we're excited to
very
have you.
wonderful replacement for me. It's
Nice.
not hard, so she can do a better job.
I have something that's kind of a municipality report. I just want everybody to know. We had an audit from New Hampshire DOL, Department of Labor.
I heard.
If anybody hasn't gone through one recently, and we hadn't been through one since 2007. And granted, we have a brand new wastewater treatment facility. There were a lot of gaps. And most of it was really basic, you know, like appropriate signage for confined space entry, making sure our confined space entry program is up to snuff, making sure that every single piece of equipment is labeled. And if it's, you know, if you have a gantry, it's got the posted, do it now.
Okay,
They are coming. They only have 2 inspectors for the entire state, but they are focused on wastewater treatment plants right now.
We
So,
had one this past year, so I think they're making their rounds.
yeah, and I
and
think
was it wastewater treatment center for you as well?
Whole city.
it's
including
whole,
wastewater.
yeah, whole city, but by far the heaviest lift is for the wastewater treatment.
I
plant.
heard from Primex. but-
Yeah. Get your training programs
Trouble
back up to 100%. You know, we were at like 98, so I'm just sharing that piece of advice to everybody.
That's
It's,
not bad, 98%, good.
yeah,
Well,
but there's a lot
I
of
get
little
it.
things. I mean, every electrical panel, 36-inch clearance, you know. Everybody's got a box under an electrical panel. I don't care where you go.
I- If I could get some of those, so we could initially start, you know, we just went through an upgrade,
Well, that's what I thought too.
I know,
Just
But-
saying.
but I have OCD, there's not much
Have
junk around.
Actually, if you have, or if you're a Primex member, have Dave with them or somebody from Primex come out and they can
I'll-
Yeah.
I'll
they can give
talk-
you a quick
I'll
walkthrough.
talk to Dave.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, all right, well then scheduling our next meeting. I'd like to do it in either end of January, beginning of February, dive into our 6-month checkup on the AMP. There's some other, we'll go through review comments to both CLF and excuse me, EPA had some comments, which, you know, I think we've got good responses to, but we can go through all of that, so that'll be a pretty technical meeting in the beginning of the month. Or excuse me, beginning of the year. So throw out some dates as
Get your phone out. Third Wednesday is not a good day for you.
nope, third Wednesday is not, is that
Salt
today?
and
I
pepper.
apologize. Wednesdays or Thursdays better for people.
The only, well, conflict is the stormwater coalition. You wouldn't double book stuff.
I won't do that. Try not to, it's not unheard of, but
I'm also supposed to go to welfare.
On Thursdays? It's up to you. I can do Thursday right now.
Wednesdays are great for me because they
Wednesdays are
shift
good?
my day in the office, so I can come here instead.
Nah, Eric.
We're really.
Game in the system. Should come in a different day.
Well, I'm coming in like a whole lot dealing with those files this month, so.
Okay, well then, do you want to do Wednesday, the 25th, January 25th? Does that sound good for folks?
Yes.
All right,
For Wednesday.
No, it's the fourth.
it's the fourth Wednesday.
I got you, Dennis.
Okay.
What? Depends when you do it. I've got a mandatory training 9 to 11.
9 to 11. Would Thursday be better that day? The 26th? For you?
No, this is a 2 day.
Jeez.
Sorry.
No, that's all
But
right.
in the app, I mean, I think.
I'll do an afternoon one. Does Wednesday afternoon sound good for people?
That works better for me as well.
Okay, great. So do you want to do like a 1 o'clock?
Yeah, but the
One.
time for lunch.
And I believe Dover's up. Because I won't make Newington do it. I'll let you get your feet under you. So we'll do in Dover. 1 o'clock in Dover
That's 25th.
on the 25th.
Would you, Gretchen, would you presumably be discussing a reporting template and your reporting template?
I would presumably be doing that, I think, yeah. Let's see, but any other things you want to do?
Hopefully by then we'll have a updated version of the website and also showable.
Perfect.
We'll do that.
And that's Dover wastewater.
It actually, we would probably do it at Dover Mass Road, but I would count on Mass Road, not the wastewater treatment. That's on, so Mass Road is the public works facility.
Okay.
We can go down to wastewater if we want, go bug, right? And just do, so we'll do template.
Is there somewhere I can submit my contact information?
Yes. Yes, you can email it to me and I'll get you on the
Okay.
list. Yes.
I'll get you, we'll get back, I'll give you correct.
Okay.
Well, you
Here.
have her card in the card file.
Here, I can
Oh.
give you a card too,
Okay.
right now, if you want.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments? All right, with that, Dennis, Jennifer, who wants to do the motion to adjourn? Who wants to do the second?
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
all right. All those in favor? Aye. Great, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.